Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Today we'll tell you all about why the new Airbus A380 is no longer selling. Let's get started. The abrupt end of the Airbus A380 is the result of a complicated chain of events, including missed connections, a changing market, and, finally, a shocking lack of demand for the biggest commercial airliner ever built. Because of this giant of the skies could very well be the last of its kind. Only 14 years after its first flight on a commercial airline, the Airbus A380 is already being taken out of service by some airlines, and Airbus has stopped making the plane. The Airbus A380 was a technological marvel and the world's biggest commercial plane, but when it was presented to the aviation industry, it was a commercial failure. The Airbus A380 is the biggest business plane in the world. It has all economy class seating and can fit up to 853 people. The Airbus A380 is a masterpiece of aircraft technology because it's the only commercial plane with two full decks. Since 2007, when it took its first paid passengers on its first trip, the Airbus A380 has been ordered 251 times, 123 of them by Emirates Airlines. Unlike other long-haul planes like the Boeing 747, which was made for almost 50 years, the Airbus A380's already been taken out of production, and the company's now testing the last plane it will ever make. Here are some of the reasons why the A380 was a failure. Many airlines didn't buy the Airbus A380 because it was so big. Because of its huge wingspan, which was the same as that of almost 3 Boeing 737s, the Airbus A380 was hard to fill to capacity on even the busy routes. Because of this, the Airbus A380 could only land at 140 airports, all of which had to go through a lot of work to build bigger gates that could fit the A380. The bigger a society is, the more problems it has. The Airbus A380 was a very inefficient plane for companies to use because it needed 4 engines to fly. It also used a lot more fuel than other planes. To put this in perspective, the smaller Boeing 787, which only has 2 engines, uses 5,400 liters of gas every hour, while the bigger Airbus A380 uses more than twice as much fuel every hour. But for some airlines, the cost was worth it because it helped them improve the quality of their products and build the image of their brand. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been a big drop in the number of people who want to fly, and lockdowns have started to be limited. This has led to a big drop in the number of flights and people who are on them. As a result, several carriers started switching to smaller, more fuel-efficient planes like the Airbus A220 and phasing out or storing their larger 4-engine jets like the Boeing 747 or Airbus A380. The Airbus A380 has hit the end of its usual life, which is bad for Emirates and the passengers. Airbus stopped making the A380 in 2021 because they didn't have enough orders to keep making them. Even though Emirates could have kept the A380 program going, the airline decided it wasn't smart to keep investing in an aircraft that would become outdated because other aircraft manufacturers were putting their money into other types of aircraft technology instead. What's the latest information about when the Airbus A380 will be taken out of service? Emirates President Tim Clark said on Monday that the airline will start getting rid of its Airbus 380 fleet in less than 10 years, in 2032. Now, that time frame isn't as clear as you might think it is when it comes to when the plane will actually be taken out of service. The airline isn't saying that all of its A380s will be taken out of service by 2032. Instead, they're saying that this is the year when they'll start to stop using the planes. Since Emirates has already taken some A380s out of service, you can expect that the number of A380s will continue to slowly go down until 2032. No one knows when the last A380 will be taken out of service, but if I had to guess, I'd say it'll be in the middle of the 2030s. The shift in the aviation business towards smaller, more fuel-efficient planes was another thing that hurt the Airbus A380. For example, the Airbus A380 has about twice as many passenger places as the Boeing B787. In fact, Emirates cut back on its plans for the A380 at the same time that it placed a large order for Airbus's smaller planes, the A350 and the A330. Grant says that there's less pressure to fill every seat because this plane has better operating economics, lower costs, a smaller capacity, and a result, less pressure to fill every seat. The A380's size and level of luxury were also factors in its demise. The plane's development is said to have cost $25 billion or 19.4 billion pounds. It has a fuel capacity of 320,000 liters, 4 engines with a thrust of 70,000 pounds, 2 decks with 500 square meters of floor space, a duty-free shop, a bar, a restaurant, and a beauty salon. Mason says that this kind of hotel in the sky super jumbo was once seen as a technical marvel, but now it's seen as too expensive and has 4 engines that are less efficient than engines on newer twin-engine planes. Mason says this is to show that while this type of super jumbo was seen as a scientific marvel at the time, it's now considered an overly expensive aircraft. He also says that if a flight has more than 500 seats, at least some of the tickets need to be sold at a lower price for it to be full. Because of this, the general yield is lower than it would be with a smaller, easier-to-load aircraft. Mason also says that airlines have been afraid to buy really big planes because of how much they cost. Most of the time, they can't find enough routes where the demand is high enough to fill the planes at a satisfactory yield. Grant says that the shockingly low demand for the A380 is because today, Emirates operates more than half of all flights on the A380, and less than 20 airlines around the world operate that aircraft type. That alone should show you how little interest there was from other carriers. Grant thinks that in the end, Emirates and Airbus let their egos get in the way of making smart business decisions. He says they got carried away in placing too much emphasis on this idea when others, such as Boeing, felt that we would see longer, thinner long-haul routes emerge with newer aircraft technology. How Emirates will replace its Airbus 380 fleet. Since the Airbus 380 is by far the biggest passenger plane in the world, it shouldn't be a wonder that Emirates' fleet of A380s will need a lot of frames to be fixed. At the time, Emirates has a fleet of about 250 planes, about half of which are Airbus 380s and the rest are Boeing 777s. Even though Emirates has planned for this, all of these planes will be taken out of service at some point. Emirates has orders for about 200 planes of 3 different types, which are as follows. Emirates has ordered 50 Airbus A350-900 planes, and the first one could arrive as early as 2024. Emirates has placed an order for 30 Boeing 787-9s, and the first one could arrive as early as 2025. Emirates has put in an order for 115 Boeing 777X planes, both the 777-8 and the 777-9. Deliveries could start as soon as 2025. In the near future, Emirates also plans to order between 100 and 150 more wide-body jets. These planes are meant to replace the A380 in a more direct way. The planes will be delivered between 2027 and 2033, which is about when Emirates will stop flying A380s. This buy is expected to include more Airbus A350s, Boeing 777Xs, and maybe even some more Boeing 787s. That's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and comment down your thoughts on this, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.